Welcome to the podcast, Beyond Expectations, Parenting Autism. Follow Michelle Chabola's journey of raising a child with autism, the challenges, victories, and rewards. If you're a parent, caregiver, or simply someone seeking to understand autism on a personal level, you're in the right place.
Hello, welcome to the show. We have Jane Claxton today, my best friend of 27 years.
Wow.
Hi, Jane. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for being here.
Yeah, we want to focus on friends. And basically, the day I met you, we were kind of thrown together. Our husbands started working together and we moved from out of state together. And I had an autistic 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and you had a five-year-old and a 10-year-old.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
Little girls.
We had boys. I had girls.
That's right.
Oh, how funny.
And we just dealt with it. We're just like, hello, now we're best friends. We have to be.
We have each other.
That's right. And you had never had any experience with anybody that had autism, so that was an eye-opening experience.
Yeah.
But,
I think at first, Gregory was a lot younger, so, wasn't as, extreme.
But you were there learning with Michelle from the get-go. So how long were you guys living in, this is all in Colorado. How long were you guys living in Colorado together?
13 years.
So you really got to see Gregory grow up.
Yeah, so he was 4 and
left at 18. So 14.
left at 18, yeah.
Oh, so you have a whole third-party view of the entire story and the development.
Yeah, I was there when she was going through different schools and
oh wow. Now we can we have what she told us happened. Now we can find out what really happened.
I got to see it all going down.
She got to listen to all the crying and the screaming.
Well, this is pretty cool though, because that third party perspective is super helpful, right? Because it's a huge chunk of Gregory's life, right? And the development. So this is fascinating. And you guys met when he was 4, and now you guys are still friends. So you live in different states now. So Jane, you live in Minnesota now, and Michelle lives in Texas, but you still stay close.
Yeah, we do.
That's pretty cool. So where do we begin? Where's the scoop?
The scoop would be with Jane telling us exactly how she felt, because I was just living it all the time with her. And then I don't know how it affected her children at, the ages they were. Did she deal with anything that I didn't know about with the kids? Did they ask questions? Because they were old enough to know.
Right. I think that, after we met and, there would have to be exceptions that would be made. There would things happen that we'd have to readjust and make different plans, or Gregory would need to go home, or, and I think those were the questions that maybe the girls would ask, like why, or, you know what I mean? But I think the biggest thing is just them being aware of the impact that what was best for Gregory. I mean, they loved both your boys from the start and just bonded with both of them. So I think it was just a matter of, just doing what we needed to do. And I don't really think there was that many questions, just, okay, what's next?
Interesting.
Or if we'd be at your house and it was obviously time to go home, they understood, hey girls, it's time to go home. They didn't ask questions because they knew that was,
is this the famous story of Gregory bringing the shoes to everyone, saying or walking into the door when it was time to go?
Taking the shoes all of them and taking Jane to the front door.
Yeah, he came and grabbed my hand. Okay, it's time for you to go. Okay, girls, I guess we're going. And it was just all, no questions, just, And I think too, it got to where we figured out it was easier to be at your house, and none of us had a problem with that. It was just easier for everybody. And I think it's cool how our kids bonded. I was, Michelle and I were talking, and they kind of went through phases to where Hannah and Michael would hang out and Gregory and Alex would hang out. Then it was kind of a switch to where, Michael got older, like the sports, then Gregory and Hannah really found their things. So I think they just adjusted to whatever we were doing,
And hanging out with a family with an autistic child, like, was it ever like, oh, this again? Like, was it ever like, an adjustment here and adjust there?
Oh,
Because you have plenty of chances to have friends that don't have kids with autism, right?
yeah, no, it wasn't. I mean, we loved all of them so much from the start that I don't think any of us ever thought that, or,
That's
I
so
mean, we
nice.
wanted it. We were together all the time, and we had so much fun. We found, you think about like the times we'd go to the river, Michelle, both of our husbands worked all the time. And so a lot of times it was Michelle and I with the kids. And, just finding things to keep all of them busy that worked for everybody. So, and it was never an issue. I think it was just between me and Michelle figuring out what was going to work the best.
And when
Right.
you think about where we are now, 20 something years later, right? Did you ever think that he'd be doing what he's doing now and operating a saw and dealing with the public?
No,
And
no, I didn't. I mean, I didn't know what he would be doing, but I didn't think he would be doing that. Like he is so much farther along than, what you see that's typical. And a lot of that is kudos to Michelle, staying on him and, setting those expectations. It's okay. I worked with special needs kids and, when you have those expectations, they can reach, the things they can do and they're capable of. And I've traveled with you, Michelle, and there's times that, you can be hard on him, but it's all out of love and making him the best he can be. And that's what it takes. I laugh about sometimes our trips that we've taken, and he'll be mad because Michelle is not letting him get away with something, or if he kind of starts to have a meltdown and, she just doesn't allow it or finds a different way for him to deal with it. And it's not maybe the way he would prefer. And he'll be just like, well, I'm just mad at her. And she moves on and it's like, yep, that's fine. You can be mad at me, but this is what we're doing, And
Yeah,
I
Sean
know
got to experience that.
what's that?
yeah,
Sean got to experience a little bit.
yeah.
And that's,
I grew
that's kudos to all the parents out there that, demand, that expect the best of them, because you don't want to.
It's so hard though, because you need to make exceptions, right? You know
Right,
that it's not fair to set the same expectations for a person
right,
with autism and a person without autism. But then there's this, how in the world do you find the balance to where it's not, because you
right,
also don't want to make so many excuses that there's no standards and there's no
right.
requirements.
And
So
it's
like,
the
how in the world do you find that balance?
Right. And I think it's different expectations. It's expectations that meet what he's capable of doing. Like as his mother, Michelle, what he's capable of. And it's easy for them to, I mean, you could let him watch TV all day and do his fun things, but you also expect him to do responsible things. And that's awesome,
Right. So you said you worked with kids with special needs. Tell me about that.
So I did when I first, it's funny because my friend worked at the high school and she knew I spent a lot of time with Gregory, and there was an opening at the high school in the special ed department. And they had a big department. It was like, learning delayed, at-risk kids, and then the, special needs. And I did a little bit of both. But when there was an opening, my friend who worked there said, you have so much great experience with Gregory, you should apply. And I thought, here I'm going to apply at this school and I have no experience. But anyway, I did have experience because, I was with them a lot, but it worked out. I got the job and I just loved it. And I was always drawn to like the kids, with autism because, when they include them in regular ed classes, to me, I am 100% believer in that working for not just the special ed kids, but with the regular kids. Like I saw the change in the regular ed kids at the high school because some of them had never been around kids like that. And
Have
so
you?
then,
I don't know if you've seen our any of our episodes, but we had Gregory on, and he had
Yeah.
the best moment when he corrected me, where I was said, "Oh, it wasn't so nice. It wasn't so nice of those kids. They helped you," and he said, "I helped them too."
Yeah, that's so true. And I tell all the kids that I worked with, you are helping everyone else in the school more than they're helping you, because they learn to adapt and see, people for whatever needs that they have. I'd be in classrooms with, I had a student I worked with that, was on the spectrum at a different level, and she had major anger issues. And sometimes it was just a matter of removing her from the classroom for a little bit. And just like you said, how Gregory likes to take a breather, and, it's like
Stretch.
that
He likes to. He
takes,
needs to go stretch.
yeah.
He stretches a lot.
Yeah. And this girl liked to stretch a lot too, but that's okay. They take their little break and they go back and they're good to go.
Mhm.
So,
And so
but
what was what was your job? Like, what were you doing in the school?
So when I went there, I just was like, when the special ed kids would be in regular ed classes, I was the support for them when they, were in the class.
This is what
So,
Michelle called the paraprofessional.
yep, yeah, I was a
Is it literally one on one? You like you have one child you're assigned to, and that child you're with that child all day long between
Depends on
classes.
depends on the needs. Like I would maybe be assigned to, like, say, one class period. I would take one child into a class and be one-on-one with them. But
Okay,
then other classes, I would have maybe 10 special ed kids that were more like at a learning delayed level.
right.
And they would be in like a English class trying, to,
Mm-hmm.
just be in the
Just
same
catch up.
class. Yeah. And so then sometimes I'd pull them all out for testing, or if we were reading something, I'd pull them all out to read separately rather than with the group, but then try to also keep them with the group. And then also deal with any discipline. Sometimes some of the kids, if they're in a big classroom like that, they do need a break. So then I'd take one or two out for a little bit, come back in. And it was awesome. It just gives them such an opportunity to be around so many different kids,
Right.
and then learn and feel good about, what they're learning, rather than just being in a private room all day,
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, that's sort of what they call mainstreaming piece, right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
bring the kids right into the classroom, and as
Mhm.
Gary pointed out, it benefits everyone, but it still creates a taxing infrastructure. I mean, it's kind of amazing that the school pays for a teacher that can have such a low ratio of one kid or five kids or 10 kids, right?
Yeah,
The teacher teaching the class probably has 25 or 30. And I think in Texas, they probably have 30 or 35 kids that
right.
they're trying to keep up with.
Yeah, so then you're supporting both the teacher and the kids,
Right.
a lot of times in those, in the, like, regular classrooms.
Yeah, the
So did
teachers
you just,
really liked that.
they liked having
Mhm.
that extra set of hands in the
Mhm.
classroom?
Yeah.
I mean, I
Mhm.
guess it's only fair, right? I'm sure most teachers are under resourced anyway. And then you add a
Right.
kid that needs special attention.
Right.
So it's only fair that they get a set of hands. But it's pretty cool
Mhm.
that as we talked about the laws that were passed and the funding that was switched up for this,
Oh,
one
it's
day we have to figure out it, because I know the need is growing, right? It has been growing.
right. Yeah. And the
So just
funds are getting lower.
yeah, yeah. So it's not a recipe for success, right? So Jane, so it's kind of cool. So could you credit Gregory with getting you into that role of
Oh,
helping other kids?
100%. I remember I was kind of nervous when I went to interview for it, because I'm, just at the time, I think I was working at a law office part-time. And, so I didn't have experience other than being, with Michelle's family and spending a lot of time with Gregory. But, I just went into the interview and I literally talked and gave a lot of examples of you know, what I would do with Gregory, or what I would see Michelle do with Gregory, what I had been exposed to. So I feel like it really helped me get the job. But the
That's
biggest
amazing.
part is, yeah, it also just had, I just grew to have a love for it, and a love for those kids.
That's kind of crazy that one day we have to map out how many people Gregory
Yeah.
inspired to go help.
Right.
other kids, right? Because we have a niece who I think is now she's a very senior person in an elementary school, but she started out teaching.
Right.
I think Gregory had a lot to do with that.
Yeah. And then my daughter works at a home for adult men with autism.
Oh, she does.
Yeah, yeah. And I
Wow.
think
You think
her, it's just like her personality growing up with Gregory. I just think you just have a compassion and heart for it,
wow.
And all the stuff she deals with does not even affect her at all.
Really? But she's
Yeah.
had experience since maybe she was a child with her
10?
Yeah,
friends with autism, right? So
yeah.
since she was 10.
Mhm.
That's so cool. I don't know that there's anybody that I've met that's in the job they're in today because they met me. At least not ones that don't work for me.
Oh, I'm
I don't know,
sure.
Michelle. And
A lot of
I
people
like how
ran when they met you.
exactly. They may be in therapy because of me, but not helping people. Right, exactly.
Uh,
That's
yeah,
so
I
fun.
don't know. Yeah, for sure. And then all these teachers and all these people that he's
Mm,
known for forever. Oh, I want to be on. I want to be on. And I'm like, oh,
yeah.
Oh, that's so
so
fun. That's so fun.
it's
So
good.
Jane, when you were working at school, do you have just off the top of your head, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but like, do you have like for people that are tuning in and they're just finding out and they must be, it's got to be scary and intimidating.
Mhm.
Like, have you seen like do you have like a handful of tips of like do's and don'ts? Because you obviously when you're in your role, you're dealing with parents, you're dealing with the kids.
Right.
And kind of what we've been struggling with is that autism is this almost ill-defined thing, right? Where there's
Yeah.
where I think we figured out that most of my family has some of these same attributes. So, so like
Pretty much
the
everybody.
So many
finding
people.
finding the perimeter of a diagnosis is tricky, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. Did anything come off the top of your head as like do's and
Yeah.
don'ts? You think stuff that succeeded, stuff that didn't?
I would say the number one thing for parents is advocate for your child. There's nobody that knows them better than you. And whether that's advocating, communicating with the teacher, the big thing is the IEP meetings. Michelle, you had yours every year. You know what they're like.
This sounds so. We touched on this a little bit,
It's awful.
but this individual education plan
Man.
Yeah.
IEP thing. And you
Mhm.
said it's awful. I don't. It sounded to me. I don't understand it. I guess so. So like when you
Well,
go in there, what do you need to know before you go in there? And is there
well,
something bad that can happen when you're there?
well, there's not bad. It's just that you are on one side of the table, you and your spouse, and there are
Hmm.
12 other people in this room that have
Or they're
attempted
trying
to
to hurt you or help you? I can't figure it out.
they hold you up, they hit you, they do all these
Yeah.
Bats,
you might as well
rubber
they might as
hoses.
well just take a bat to
Why
you
does it feel like that? Because just from the innocent bystander's perspective, you're like 12 people sat down to talk about how we can best
Yeah.
adapt the school
how
for your
your
child.
child
It
can't do
sounds amazing.
anything. No. Well, it's
But I'm
not.
saying, hold on. But to me, it sounds amazing. It sounds like they're stopping their day to customize a plan for your kid. But
Right.
is that not how it turns out?
That's what the game plan is. And
Yeah.
I'm sure there's lots of good intentions in this meeting. But what they start off with is very negative. It's
Hmm.
okay, Gregory can't do this. He can't do that. He can't. Oh, he'll probably never do this. He'll never do that. Every blue moon, you would get someone in the meeting that would just stop people and say, okay, we're going to, just like Trudy, we've already talked to one of them. This is what he can do. Did you know that he
Right.
can do this? Did you know that he can
I
do
see.
this? You never
I
heard that
see.
Hmm.
I see.
because they're riding his
So
soul.
if we're ever fortunate enough to get someone on the educational side to listen to this, someone that's like leading those meetings and arranging those
Right.
meetings, right?
Mhm.
Like, is it as simple? I hate to oversimplify things. Is it as simple as like the choice of language because you're saying can't, don't, never? I mean, those are horrible words to hear. But is that coming from a place of like, okay, we need to build a plan to help develop these skills, and so we necessarily need to know the skills that are lacking, right?
It
So is it more
is.
of just
It
like
is.
a
Yeah.
I forget it, I don't even know, I'm so poorly brained. Is it your left brain that does numbers and your right brain that does art? I just have the brain that does numbers. And so
I
like
know.
someone that has that brain is just like, let's get the work done, let's fill it, let's find out
Right.
where the holes are, let's fill the holes, let's go. But are you saying that that's not it? Or is it just as a parent you're feeling like they're
Well,
beating down on your kid?
for an example, you bring somebody in that's working for you. and you've got something that you feel like they're really not doing what they should be doing. When they walk in the door, do you just hit them with, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that?
So
Or do
I'm a
you,
bad example because I'm terrible at that.
okay,
I'm
well then
awful at it.
don't do that
And
anymore.
my
It's the
employees have
worst.
told me I'm terrible at it. And so I'm sorry that I'm terrible at it. But then they told me that there's this thing, what's it called? It's called it's like a feedback sandwich, or the negative feedback sandwich, where it's like, here's the 5 things you do great. Here's the 1 thing that's not great. Here's the other 5 things you do great. Have a nice day.
Right. Oh,
And
yeah.
I guess that just puts people in a place where they're just more receptive.
It
Right.
is, and I think when you're an adult and you're hearing from another adult, it's probably a lot better than when you walk in there and you already know your child's struggling.
And you
And
feel
then
like they're
all you
attacking you.
hear is the negative of it. And then they go, well, okay, well, this is what we need to work on. And I just think, and they're not, all of them were that way, but I'd say
Right, they're not.
99% of them were. I think I had one meeting
No,
I
but
didn't
at the
cry
end,
in.
Jane, did you
One.
experience that a lot when the parents had like really felt negative about the meeting and felt
You
like they
know,
were?
some do, and then some are positive. Like, I think it kind of depends on too, like who's running the meeting. And they do have to point out like what the students aren't doing because they still need to qualify for services. And so,
Oh,
but it's just how it's brought to the table. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like,
Well, you can shut down progress
nobody,
because people get
right.
defensive and they get upset, and then they don't want to hear all this stuff, right? They don't want to
Yeah,
hear a
but if
bunch of
they're
negative
doing
stuff.
too awesome, they could lose services. You
Oh,
know, I mean, that's the other thing
is
too.
there some? Oh, I'll always love to follow the money. So is there some like economic
Yeah.
incentive to make the kids feel like that they're less capable than they might be?
I think
Is that
maybe
how
some
the
cases. I never had that case, but maybe there
Yeah.
are. Maybe there are.
right? But so,
Yeah.
Michelle, the other day you would say that whether the assessment's generally correct, just delivered in a way that was just crushing.
I just think it
Yeah.
was, you really got to go in there. And if no one's ever been in one, I highly recommend you taking a spouse or even another advocate
Yeah.
with
And I
you. A
know
lot of
where I
people, there
work.
are people that are advocates for parents that go in there
Right.
with them
Right.
and don't let them beat you up. And they say, okay, well,
Right.
this is what we're going to do for little Joey.
What's at stake if they beat you up? What's at stake if you come out of that meeting
Nothing.
and it didn't go well? Like
Well,
what
first
happens?
of all, if they just focus on if they don't get together and everybody agree on what he needs, it's a very long process to start all over again.
Mhm.
So everybody's got to be on the same page. So if I wanted Gregory to know his ABCs and they're like, well, you know what? Probably not important at this point. Well, it is to me. And
Right.
Oh, I
so
see.
they can
Oh,
override
that's the
that. A
tension
lot of
is like we're gonna set together the next 6 weeks. Is this done like every semester or every twice a year? How
it's
often?
in the spring and you can call them anytime. I always did it in the
Mhm.
fall and in the spring just to
Oh,
get
interesting. So it's up to the parent.
yeah.
And
I
some
see.
students would be one time a year, depending on their needs too.
Yeah.
Right.
But
But it can be kind of a high stakes thing because if they say, well, if coloring a whole page in red is the goal, then your kid doesn't get the resources they need. Right. If they set
Right.
the goals too low, then you're wasting a huge amount of time and resources. And then is that right, Michelle? Is that kind of the point? Like if you're not agreeing on like what's possible?
Right. You have to, and there's just so many things that you have to agree on. And yes, like the OT, you have to agree on what's this OT going to work on. I had an OT that wanted to teach him how to use a payphone.
Right.
And I'm sorry, Gregory will probably never see a payphone in his life.
yeah,
And
Do they still exist?
this was junior high. And I was like, you know what? I think we should probably take that off the goals.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
he will have a cell phone, but I doubt very
But you're
seriously
really
he's going to be in the middle
negotiating
of
a
nowhere.
curriculum. You're negotiating a curriculum for the
Right,
next
right. I mean,
could
I
be
was
half the school year.
dumbfounded. I was like,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, you're
payphone.
negotiating like what the goals will be and what the expectations will be
Yeah.
for your student the next year coming.
Right.
Interesting.
So
Wow.
you really
That's
have
You know,
to,
that's what I was going to say too, working at the school. And I would tell this to parents, if there's somebody that's close to you at the school and knows your child, request that they go to the meeting. Like I was asked to go to several meetings because I knew the child, and there's
You mean
nothing
someone
wrong.
that works at the school or just like another parent?
No, like somebody that works at the school. So
Okay,
like
like
you
a
have your
coach
IEP
or
meeting. Right.
or the para.
The para, it would be the main.
Right.
The paras a lot of times are the
But
ones that are asked to go.
The parent has to invite that para. The school is not going to include that para in that
Right.
IEP.
But you can request, I want them
Only.
there. They're with my son all day, you know,
Right.
because then that's
Wow.
somebody that's going to advocate for them.
Yeah.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
Very important.
This is so
meeting.
cool that, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, I think it's, and what you guys are sharing is important, not only for the parent to prepare for the school, but for the school to maybe think through like, hey, this is a pressure filled situation. This is a parent, this is their child. They're naturally going to be protective and defensive. And how do
Right.
we clean up the language so that we get the best outcome for everybody and not
Right.
create like someone that just naturally gets on the defensive because they feel like that they're being sort of pigeonholed. And then I'm fascinated by the incentives of this. Like, what is the school incentivized to do from either an allocation of resources or a compensation perspective? And does this affect anything that's in their, not accreditation, but like in their reputation, or like how does it affect? How does their servicing of special needs kids affect them? Is it financially? Is it just?
Definitely.
Is it one of these things where it's a
Yeah,
burden?
it definitely financial, because like when Michelle brought up the OT, if he did something and they had all these goals for OT and he was like excelling in everything and was doing great, then they could come to the conclusion that he doesn't need OT anymore. And
if the
then,
parents know that there's still deficiencies and there's still needs there, then that
right,
becomes a real point of frustration.
And
right.
it did come to a point where he got out of OT, out of services
Mhm.
for OT, because his gross motor were off the chart. But so what we did is we took some of those minutes and put him towards speech or put him towards something else.
I think
Because
I'm
you got
being
30
dense.
minutes
I
of
get it.
OT, 30
Yeah,
minutes
I'm
of
being
speech.
dense. I get it now. Like the whole point
Yeah.
is that there's finite resources.
Mhm.
There's what's going to feel like an infinite demand, and now the administrators are left trying to figure out how to allocate those resources, and then
Right.
the parents are fighting for those same scarce resources.
Right.
Mhm.
I
And
get
they'd
it.
rather have a
Wow.
para that's with 10 students than one that's with one.
Right,
Well,
for
of
sure.
course. Well,
That's
it's
their
a school. I don't remember ever sitting into a school meeting where they said they had overly funded, right? Where they had excess
right.
funds, right?
Right.
Right. So we're like, oh, what do we do with all this extra money? Like that's never happened at a school meeting, I don't think, right? And so I can respect they're in a tight situation as well. And if they have,
Yeah.
this is as if the headlines are correct, and we'll have a whole. We need to get someone on to tell us about the metadata. But as I understand it, these needs are just escalating, escalating, escalating. And like you said, Jane, I'm sure the funds are maybe not growing or going, and that's going to create even more pressure on these IEPs because it's going to be like, hey,
Right.
good enough. And I guess that's what you're saying. The risk is if the school says Gregory's good enough, we're going to shift these resources to someone else, and then
Right.
he's not, and then you got to,
Right.
and then that puts the burden back on the family. If they know that there's more occupational therapy and the school's not providing it, then they got to go pay for it.
Right.
So all these, so that's the incentive structure. I didn't
Yeah,
understand
that goes back to, why it's just so important to advocate for your child and find anybody in the school that will do that. If there's a teacher, like you have teachers that which I think all Gregory's teachers loved him. But
Right.
if there's certain teachers, you want them in that meeting because they're gonna, they know what he needs. They know, what's gonna help him, what's gonna make him better.
Right. That's so amazing. That's unbelievable. So that IEP thing, we kind of touched on it a couple of times. I wasn't understanding the stakes of the whole thing. That's pretty fascinating.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then the
Yeah.
para, and
That's
can
why I
you,
would go ahead.
the para, getting assigned a para, is that part of that meeting that you either are qualified, your child's qualified for one or not?
Well, I requested one because I knew he could not function by himself in a classroom. And there are children that need help that can sit in a classroom. They can
Right.
sit there all day.
Yeah.
So their parents really need to. Is he learning? Yes, he's sitting quietly in the classroom. Yes, he's not causing any trouble. Is he learning?
Right.
Yeah. Is it he or she's not providing much of a distraction, or are they actually getting the services
Absolutely. And I think,
that they
Right.
yeah,
need?
I think in a
It's
good
not-
way, Gregory couldn't sit still and really had a hard time. He could not take the information from the board and take it to him. That processing was too far from him. So his
Right.
para was the middle, explaining it again to him, closer to him.
Yeah.
And I
Finding the
think
way
that
he learned and matching the information to his method of learning. We put our
Right.
kids through testing when they were little,
Mhm.
and this was a recommendation from one of their schools that said everyone learns differently, and so you got to find the way. Is it auditory? Is it visual? Is it touch?
Right.
And whatever.
Mhm.
And so I guess that's what the parents doing is they're trying to. It's even
Yeah.
harder with someone with autism.
Yeah, you just accommodate whatever way a kid learns. That's like removing them from the classroom to take a test or, you
Right.
know,
Have you
anything
seen the
like.
headlines recently? There's a lot of criticism of this about these accommodations and the headlines. I don't know if this is true or not. These days with news, you never know. But the headline was that 40% of the kids at Stanford are on some type of waiver for basically some kind of adaptive education
Really?
to adapt to their needs. Yeah. And so,
40%?
yeah, which seems like it can't be correct. I mean, these are kids that are, if they're getting into Stanford, they're some of the smartest kids in the world.
Right.
But
Right.
that may come with neurological differences as well, I guess. But it feels like that there's a real chance for people to try to take it because that in that environment, the accommodation is around testing. You get to
Mhm.
test
You get
differently, longer,
longer,
Right. Yeah.
later.
right.
And so I've got kids, a son at Stanford and a daughter at Columbia, and I can tell you that the pressure that they feel is intense, right? The
Yeah.
competition from their peers, the
Mhm.
grading on curves, and the level of the speed at which they're learning, and the complexity of the materials. So if someone gets more time on the tests,
It'll make a big
that
difference.
it could be an advantage to that person if they weren't really like is someone that was in needs of that. So I think that's
Right.
gonna but that creates this whole horrible downtrade for the people that do need it because then it's like, oh, is this a gaming of the system or the people who actually really need these resources? So I really feel for the parents that are in this education system because
Mhm.
clearly the parents know what their kids need, but then they're going to be met with a skeptical eye because other people are potentially taking
Taking
advantage of the
advantage.
system. Yeah,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
that's
taking
so
so
crazy.
many ways are they taking advantage of it.
That's so
The worst
crazy.
one I heard recently is we were at Walt Disney World and a lady was on us with this on a train, and this is completely opposite but kind of the same. And she said, "Did you get a special pass for him?" I said, "We did. We got, where we don't have to wait in the long lines."
Mm.
And she said, "Well, be careful." And I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "You'll get hit up by somebody. They're actually paying special needs people so they don't have to wait in line." So again,
Oh,
taking advantage of the system is
right.
huge, huge. The people
Hmm.
that let them rent
Well,
their children, that's wrong.
oh
but
my
Right.
goodness.
but when you say take
So
advantage
we
of the
haven't
system, it's everywhere.
we
Yeah.
haven't talked about it, Michelle. You and I haven't prepped about it, but there's national headlines now around the in Minneapolis. Exactly this, right? This
Oh,
was
the
Oh,
autism
yeah.
center.
some enormous growth in state funds going to help kids with autism, and now
Right.
there's all this
Like
kerfuffle that it was all a big scam. I mean,
5
Yeah.
billion
I
or
just
it was a huge number. Yeah.
it's yeah, it was the numbers were like intergalactic numbers.
Yeah.
So we should
I
dig into
did.
that, Michelle, and understand like because that's going to be the kind of thing that blows back on everyone, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
how do
Because
you know it's real or not? Is that what you're saying when you go out to reach
Well,
for a
yeah,
service?
it's like well, whenever a system is abused like that, then
Right.
people are going to say it's going to tighten up access, right? Just by
right,
its
then
very nature.
the people that really need it are scrutinized.
Yeah,
Which
yeah, and
we
that
had to
makes
be
this I.
interviewed. Yeah. For the Disney pass, Gregory had to have a Zoom call.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow,
So that's why they're
that's wild.
renting
Mm.
Yeah,
people.
and people rent special needs. There's got to be a special place in hell for someone that rents a special needs kid.
Right.
I mean, what in the world? So, Jay, tell us before we go. We're here at 33 minutes.
Mhm.
What is? Tell us about your daughter's job again, and can we give Gregory the credit for that one too?
Well, yeah, definitely. Like, I think her love for that, and then also just going into that environment, like she just fit right in and excelled immediately because, she understands it and just has a love for it.
And God
So,
love
yeah,
her.
she
God
does.
love her because these professions don't pay very well, right? And the amount of
Right.
emotional, I mean, it's energy, right? Because there's a lot of time involved,
Mhm.
and then there's the emotional strain of being empathetic for the people, And then I guess dealing with adult men. I mean, there's dangers, right? I mean, like this is
Yeah, yeah,
I've
in
got
fact,
friends that have adult autistic male children that have had incidents of violence, right? Because they're
right.
holding muscular men at the end of the day.
Yeah, in fact, there's one there that Alex just loves, but he has to be there because he's hurt his mother,
Oh,
and that's part of it. Like she cried, I just feel bad because she was put in a position to where she had to.
she had to. So did
Yeah.
Alex go to get a degree in social work, or how did she end up?
No, she didn't.
Her
She
degree's
kind of,
Gregory.
yeah,
She
right.
got a
Her degree
PhD
was
in Gregory
Gregory.
Chabolla.
Yeah,
Gregory
That's
Sean
so real.
Dobson
So really, in the
University.
case of these are like real life experience that turned
right.
into jobs and
Yeah.
turned into helping other people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's
she
so good
loves
for you
it.
guys.
Absolutely loves it.
Good
Yeah.
for you guys. That's amazing.
So,
Well,
yeah,
my
that's
advice is
good.
we've been lucky enough to be exposed to the University of Texas School of Social Work, and we have a whole, long relationship with them. And what we learned there that you got to tell Alex is that there's a whole piece of that training for social works that is about taking care of themselves because
Yeah.
they're exposed to so much of
Hmm.
other people's, they're because you're attracted to that work because I think you're highly empathetic, and then all that empathy I think can end up
Yeah.
being a burden that you have to sort of like, but they go through every year, as I understand it, of their curriculum is a section on how to take a step back, and I think they argue that it's kind of like the put the mask on yourself before you put it on the kid on the
Right.
airplane. Is that if you let
Yeah.
yourself get worn down, then that's one less person that's not around to help other people.
Right.
So I hope she's
Yeah.
learning how to take care of herself.
Yeah. Well, I'm on her about that all the time.
That's fascinating. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming. This has
All
been great. I learned a lot about IEPs.
Well, thanks for having me. It was fun.
All right. We'll
right.
have to have you back.
All right.
Thanks. All
All
Okay.
right,
right. Bye,
guys.
everybody.
Bye
Bye.
bye.